Delta faucet, very common. They leak on the bottom. The problem is not down here, even though the leak's coming out of there. The problem is in here. So long story short, I'll show you how it's done. This little sucker right here is a handle. Obviously, there's a bolt under here with an Allen wrench thing. So just screw it counterclockwise. It's a little pin that holds the thing in place. Here's the hole. The thing will pop out, okay? Don't let that freak you, don't force it. There's a little pin there, hole. The sleeve comes right out. See how it slides on there? It comes right out, okay? Got it. Next, this sleeve right here will come out. This is threaded. It looks like it's some kind of brass, but not quite brass. Unlike the pipe, plumbing pipe, which is brass. So this part's gonna be really hard to get off. So you might want to use some CLR or PB blaster, Paul Bruno blaster from Walmart. I don't know, that's great. Just spray it in there. Hit it a few times with the mallet, bum, 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 gently. I put a rag over it in my case because I don't want to distort this and bend it and make it oval, and then it won't seal. Took it off, came off. Now the cartridge right here, this is the cartridge. I'll show you in a minute. The old one will just be sitting there. You want to take it and move it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth on this particular model. Boom, and the thing will just pop right out. There's suction that's going to prevent it from pulling out easily. Since it's old, I just used a pair of pliers and popped it out. What happened with me was, boom, when I pulled it out, I actually left this part pulled out. And this part stayed in that brass pipe. So I was like, oh, what the hell? How am I going to get that out now? Well, I just stuck a pair of pliers in there and wiggled it back and forth gently. And you can see the damage I did right there. But it's old. This one's being replaced. And eventually, poof, popped out. There's suction here on these little O-rings. So that's what happened. The whole unit didn't pull out, but maybe that's why. Maybe these O-rings were creating a complete seal, which explained why it was leaking in the first place. Anyway, I wrote bad on it because I don't want anybody to use it again. Long story short, when you put it back in, there's an H on the side here, right there. See it? You can barely make it out. It's embedded in the plastic right there. So when you're putting it back in, you want the H to be on the left, and this thing will be in there, obviously. And then you want to be screwed in. Keep it level, and it will slide right into those two grooves way in the back in the brass pipe that you don't have to worry about. And then you sort of push it and pop it in. There's these little plastic triangles right here that fit perfectly into the brass pipe. So it'll go, and then this gasket will be exposed, and poof, you keep pushing and it'll go right in. It'll push in. So long story short, one thing I found that nobody could tell me was, well, there's a temperature governor on here. If you don't adjust this, you're going to have lukewarm water at the maximum coming out of your faucet, out of your shower, and you don't want that. I like it hot. However, they put this in there if you have kids or elderly people or somebody fooling around with the handle and you don't want them boiled alive. You might want to just keep this thing modestly adjusted. So basically, by turning this little thing here with an Allen wrench, this is an Allen wrench, counterclockwise. An Allen wrench has 6 sides. Call it a hex key. Anyway, turning it counterclockwise, counterclockwise, counterclockwise. On the new one, there's, from the factory, there's blue along the threads, and suddenly the blue disappears. I better show you. Let's see right in here. Yeah, you can make it out. See the blue right there? So as long as the blue is flush with this thing that it screws into, it'll be scald proof. But once you unscrew it, and like I'm 1, 2, 3, 4 out, you're going to get hot water. What this thing does, the screw right here, there's a little plastic thing that blocks it. And by pulling it out, let's see if I can get in here. This head right here, let me just show you. See how this is wavering? That head controls the flow. It's a very delicate mechanism, actually, of hot water and cold water ratio. So by turning it counterclockwise, you're letting more and more hot water in. Eventually, when you screw it all the way out, you get the maximum hot water that's coming out of your hot water heater from what I can see. That's pretty good. So anyway, long story short, when you go to Ace, you absolutely have to get this. I wouldn't have known about this, but the Ace guys are so good. They said, you're going to need this too. He took me around the store, got me this, and then when I took the old cartridge in, by the way, it was 42 bucks at Ace because they have their own brand versus 68 or something for the Delta brand. Same quality, in my opinion. And on the side of this little deal right here, the cartridge, it said 1314 series type P. There's no type P written on there, but it says 1340 series. He actually took it, and with these little containers, they can take it out of the box, which is great. It's behind the counter is usually where you're going to find these because people steal them. They're expensive. But he'll take it out and compare, make sure it's completely compatible and similar. And it might even be the same exact one. In this case, this was an older one, but this would fit just fine. So I recommend Ace Hardware. No waiting and a bunch of baloney. You get experts that actually know their stuff, and they'll tell you what you need and don't need, and if something works. Rather than make 10 trips to Home Depot and get some non-experts. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, so push the cartridge back in, heard it click. The little plastic V things that I showed you that were on the cartridge here fit in the slots. Boom. H on the left for hot. There's a little H designation on this cartridge package. On the cartridge, it's burned in there. It's engraved on. It says H. So keep the whole thing horizontal level with the H to the left. Boom. Pop. It'll pop in. Work that gasket left and right, and it'll finally pop in. And then wiggle around to make sure it is totally popped in. It should be totally popped in, flush. There should be no space on these little, see these little, right here, these little notches right there, like triangular things. They actually fit right into the brass fitting perfectly. So when you're putting the cartridge back in, make sure they fit. Again, the H on the left, push it back in. Okay, so now then you just take this thing, screw this back on clockwise, get it tight, but not, you know, killer tight. You don't want to bend this thing. It's actually not that strong. I just put a rag on it and gently got my pipe wrench gently and turned it till, you know, it's just at that point where I'm not going to damage it. So put that on. Put your sleeve on. Don't forget to lubricate that in there. Sleeve on. Nice and tight in there. Put your handle on. Do not forget about this temperature thing, or you're going to be taking cold showers. Or you could have somebody boiled alive if you pull it out too far and they're fooling around and they faint or something. So mine is hot, but not 100% water tank hot. And then it has to fit right on this thing, right? The stem. There it is, right there. Then there's a little Allen wrench thing that goes in there. In my case, I took it off. The handle just fits on there. It's not going anywhere, but you can always do this so that you could prevent your kids from getting scalding hot water, because I took this thing out to max. I like the water to be hot. I like to be able to control it. So, or really hot, that is. So now you can see, well, you didn't see it before, but the leak's fixed. It was leaking a lot. It was going a lot. That's it. Hope that was helpful. 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Have a good day.